Hello and welcome to Sustainability Matters. I'm Agatha Afemike, your host. On this show, we delve into latest developments and innovative solutions in sustainability. Each episode will bring you expert insights, impactful stories, and practical tips to help you make a difference. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. We have a very, very important guest with us today, the creative director and founder of Uptote by Ike. Ikeoluwa is a trained fashion designer and a sustainable fashion advocate. She's also a fashion researcher and a digital creator. She's building Uptote by Ike, a circular fashion brand that upcycles pre-customer textile waste into functional and sustainable pieces. Hello, Ikeoluwa. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this with us. I've actually always been curious about sustainable fashion, just because it's not a really popular topic in this part of the world, in Africa here. So I need you to let me know, just let everyone know how you got into sustainable fashion. Where did this passion come from?
Before I get into how I got into sustainable fashion, I just wanted to say that we usually think that sustainable fashion is not something that is common in this part of the world. And I would say that's not really true because historically, our fashion or dress practices have been sustainable in nature because, look at our ancestors and how they wore their clothing from nature. They used plant dyes to dye their clothing. There's a particular type of clothes in, I think, Mali. It's called the mud clothes, and they use mud and plant dyes to make clothes like that. So, and even the way we use our clothing, if we remember when we were younger, we don't just throw clothes away. Like you will wear your clothes, wear it, and once they are maybe undersized, you pass it on to your junior ones or to your cousins, So I think historically we've always been sustainable in Africa. We may not know that it was called sustainability, but even before there were fancy names for it, we were doing it. But of course, in recent times, due to globalization, we've also learned the culture of fast fashion, and then now we are inclined towards fast fashion. So I got inspired to get into sustainable fashion. First of all, I was taking kind of like a course in 2021, and the person was talking about, that thing you are doing, how can you impact people's lives with it? It's not just about sewing clothes or doing something. How can you impact people? So she was not talking about, there's sustainable fashion, there's sustainable development goals, and there's sustainable this, sustainable that. So I was like, okay, I should look into sustainable fashion to see, what it's all about. That way, I can even become beyond being a local designer. I can become an international designer and impact people's lives positively. And then sometimes later, still that same 2021, I got to work for a sales store, so like a thrift store. I got to manage their social media page. So I worked with them for 2 years, but shortly into my employment with them, the business transitioned from just a regular thrift store to a resale brand. So what that meant is still like thrift. Then what that meant is that we were reselling clothes within Nigeria. So it transitioned to a full sustainable or circular fashion brand where we're sourcing clothes from within Nigeria. And so for instance, if you have clothes that you no longer wear, rather than throwing them away, this business would collect them from you, help you sell those clothes and give you back the money. So of course, because I was a social media manager, I was in charge of interfacing with customers, trying to reach our target audience. I had to learn more about sustainable fashion, which I already had a bit of interest in before. So I had to learn about it, what is sustainable fashion, how, just several things. And I got into it and I realized that it is very broad, and just climate in general, climate education, climate change is very broad, and fashion is just an aspect of it. So I got really interested in the complexities of the sustainable fashion industry. And because I'm a nerd of like an academic, so I like reading, I like researching. So I found it really interesting and different from just making clothes, making ready to wear clothes or making bespoke clothing. I was like, there's a lot of opportunities in this thing. So that was how I got into it.
Interesting. That's a very, very interesting background, and it's actually very similar to how I started up in sustainability as well. Just came from a simple interest of, I'm not comfortable with how my environment looks, so let me do more research about it. And from that interest, I decided to apply for something that I had not even previously had experience for, but the passion was there and volunteering experience was there as well. So thank you for that, Ikeoluwa. So how long have you been doing this for?
So 2 years, 2022 till now. I think that's 2 years. I've been doing this for 2 years.
Wow, awesome. And so much progress has been made in that little time. So well done, Ikeoluwa. What is your vision for
Yes.
Uptote, and how has it evolved over time? For example, I know there are some people that get into a space or an industry with an initial mindset, and over time that evolves into something else. Have you faced that in Uptote, or was your vision from the beginning still what you're playing with?
Yes. So I would say, in a way, my vision from the beginning, see what I'm playing. Of course, there's been modifications along the way. So before I started Uptote, I was making bespoke clothing first of all. Then I launched the ready-to-wear brand. And within 3 months of launching that brand, I just had this idea of, using fabric scraps to make something else. I already even had that idea before when I just wrote it somewhere in my jotter, and I was like, oh, use fabric scraps from your bespoke clothing to make something else, to make like scrunchies and some other things. So, but I got that prompting to just open this other page, this Upload page. I was thinking, am I sure that I'm in my right senses? Because I just started a business. Why am I opening a new page for another business? Right? I'm meant to see this new business before I start another one. But then I just opened it and I just left it there. So gradually, after learning more about sustainable fashion, I realized that, I cannot do ready to wear in the normal ready to wear fast fashion method and also do sustainable fashion by the side. It has to be one. I have to pick one. I decided that, okay, I'm going to just go with sustainable fashion. And the industry is not saturated like the ready to wear industry. So I made use of scrap that I already had, and I started making earrings, bags. So the vision when I named it Uptote by Ike was that the ready-to-wear brand was called Ike, which is like my name. So when I named this one, I said Uptote by Ike, thinking, oh, it's like sustainable fashion by this ready-to-wear Ike brand. But recently I realized that Uptote itself, it's enough. I don't need like a umbrella sort of ready to wear brand to like attach to it. So right now I'm in the phase of transitioning from Uptote by Ike to just Uptote, because I believe Uptote itself is enough. And going on to what the vision has been. So the vision was to upcycle pre-consumer textile waste, because I see that that's not a part of the waste sector that people look at. People look at post-consumer textile waste like t-shirts, like used clothing, produced clothing. People like work with that, especially Okrika and all of those. They're already produced clothing and they are post-consumer textile waste. But there's pre-consumer. And from my experience working as an apprentice at a tailor's workshop, I saw firsthand how we gather scraps, so many scraps from different customers, and you have like 3, 4, 5 stacks of clothing. Back then when I was learning, my boss would ask us to go and look for a piece of scrap in like a giant Ghana must go bag or something. I used to get really pissed off. Then like, oh, what is this? Why are you sending me off after like finding scrap? But this is the time that I was learning about sustainable fashion, So that experience made me realize that if this woman who I learned from had bags of scraps, even me that I just started out, I also have like 3 bags of scraps. Then there are other fashion designers, fashion houses who have loads of scraps that they are not using. So, I can start a business to partner with them and then collect those scraps from them, upcycle those scraps, then into products which they can sell. So they can sell those products. If I upcycle them into bags or earrings, they can sell that. So if they are selling clothes, for instance, they can sell it as a package, a bag and a cloth, or a earring and a t-shirt or something. They can sell that. Also, for people who didn't want to maybe sell accessories alongside their clothes, I could just buy the scraps from them and upcycle those and then sell them directly to consumers from my end. So the business has 2 sides. So the business to consumer model and the business to business model. Also, the idea was that, of course, if I'm going to be collecting scraps from people and not, I don't want to limit it to my location. I want to be able to collect scraps from all over, maybe Nigeria. So that means I will need middlemen, and that is where another people comes in. I'll probably need technology to keep track of people. So for at the basic level, at least I will need a website where people will register. Oh, we have scraps. They will register. They will put in the number, amount, and all of that. So bringing in the technological side of it. So that has been the idea so far, and gradually I'm just working towards it. So right now I'm just at the basic level, which is just upcycling products first, and of course gradually as time moves on, I'm just going to move on into all of those other technological levels.
Well done, Ikeoluwa. Things like this make me actually giddy because the buzzword right now is circular economy and sustainability, but there are very, very few people putting in the actual work to do what needs to be done. We like to put aside fashion waste, but it's a huge contributor to the waste crisis we currently have in Nigeria now. So thank you for the work you are doing. And speaking of challenges, what are some of the challenges you've experienced setting up Uptote by Ike, of course? What are the business challenges in that sense from end to end?
Okay, one of the challenges would be personally my location because I'm not in an economic hub yet. Like I don't stay in Lagos or Abuja or so. I would say location is kind of like a barrier for me getting my products out there. But of course, that's why there is online sales, there is online store. But I think being in an economic or a fashion capital like Lagos would help like the business move forward. But okay, moving on from maybe where I'm situated, I'm also going to say having like the right guidance or the right direction. So of course, there are courses on fashion generally, which is good. But then on the business of sustainable fashion, there are courses on that too, but those are Western courses. And then that necessarily doesn't translate to the Nigerian market. So I can learn all I want to learn from Western countries about sustainable fashion, circular fashion, but having someone that has gone ahead in this journey and I can hold my hand, so to say, like a mentor and say, oh, I've spent 10 years in this industry. This is what works. This is what doesn't work. That is tailored to the Nigerian market. I think a majority of people in this space right now are also just trying to figure things out. So it's find like a blueprint an exact blueprint to follow. So that is also another challenge.
Interesting. Aside from the location question I asked earlier, what are the experiences you've gleaned from these challenges and how have they applied to how you run Uptote by Ike now?
Okay, so speaking of the location, I've just had to look for creative ways to get my products to where that needs to get to. So recently, I had to partner with someone in Ibadan to get my products to our store so that any of our customers that walk into our store can also see my products and buy from her. So the challenge with this is because we work with upcycled products and upcycled products are limited in like by nature, limited edition because we just work with the scraps that we can get. So it's even hard to have stock hits all over the country because they might see something on our website and when they go to the nearest location to them, they might not find it just because of the nature of the business. So it's been a battle of figuring out how this would work. But currently we have one person that is stocking the product and I just inform people on the business page that okay, you can walk into this person's store if you are near the place and you can just see the products that are available and pick up from her. So I'm looking forward to like having more partners in different locations in the country. So for the lack of maybe direct mentorship or like a blueprint to follow, I think that's kept me on my toes and made me like again be innovative, to think ahead and also not to be afraid to try things because since there isn't like an exact blueprint and I would just let me try it, what if it doesn't work, that's fine. At least I learned something for the next person coming behind me so I can tell this next person that I tried this, it didn't work, maybe you should try it this way. So that has been some of the things I've gleaned from the experiences. So creative problem solving, is a key thing that I've learned from this experience.
Awesome. So speaking of challenges and you having to learn on the go, what does support look like for you currently? Personally, I know supporting your brand in the sense of buying from you, but what does support aside from purchases look like for Uptote by Ike right now?
Okay, so of course, I will never say no to money. So funding from the government, from industry bodies or NGOs, who are in this space. Funding would always be really good then because we can test out more ideas but also support looks like, mentorship, like I said earlier, I'm really key on education and mentorship. I like learning because I believe you just stay in one place if you are not always learning on the go. So support looks like, mentorship learning, even if it's someone that is still currently, that is also in the journey, having that peer-to-peer learning experience would really help where we can exchange ideas and say, oh, I did this in my business, and this and that. So mentorship, get funding.
Awesome. Hopefully someone listening to this is able to provide any of those solutions for your brand. Ikeoluwa, speaking of branding, right? What are some of the opportunities you found in sustainable fashion? I know that you've had a little bit of experience around research in the industry, but for someone that may be listening to this and saying, oh, I've had this idea in my head, but this is the first time I'm hearing someone put it to words and relate it to their brand as well. So what are some of the opportunities you see in sustainable fashion aside from what you're currently doing with Uptote by Ike?
Okay, so the opportunities are endless. There are different models, business models in circular fashion. Interestingly, I just finished a series on my Instagram page about business models in sustainable or circular fashion. So we're talking about circular fashion.
I'll be following that.
Someone, you can open a resale store, and that is basically reselling, used fashion items. So you can, that's like regular thrift store. But then the difference would be that you are consciously bringing in that environmental angle to it and making sure that everything you do impacts the environment and your society positively. There's also the upcycling, which I do. So apart from upcycling, there are people that recycle too. So, and let me just circle back to upcycling for a minute. So upcycling goes beyond just maybe upcycling into earrings or bags or into new clothing. There are people that upcycle into interior decor. There are people that upcycle into artworks. There are people that upcycle into that upcycle for building and construction. So I've seen a company in France upcycle clothes into bricks, and they use these bricks to build like very beautiful things.
Wow, well done. Okay, so I've seen pictures and videos of the bags, and I'm actually very, very my mind is blown. Well done. It's a really, really good stuff that you're doing, and I know, because a good product sells itself. I know that as you continue to do that and as you continue to gain more traction and visibility, that there are many, many, many brands and many, many organizations that would like to partner with you. Big brands like the MTN, Access Banks to partner with organizations like this, just because it adds to their CSR at the end of every business year. So one thing I would say from my end as a sustainability consultant is to pitch your work to these banks. Sometimes write a proposal letter, do a video compilation, send a video to someone you know in the bank. Maybe ask them, how can this video reach the person that I want it to reach? And because some of these organizations, I know you mentioned the Office of Climate Change. There's currently a special advisor to the Vice President on climate change and sustainability in Nigeria. There's so many, many, many businesses that would like to partner with this kind of work, because not only is it helping the environment, it's actually a very sustainable idea and business. So well done, Ikeoluwa. Hopefully we will have you again come speak on some of the research around sustainable fashion that you've spoken about earlier today. I'm actually very intrigued by it, and I'm actually hoping that we could have you again sometime soon to speak about other aspects of fashion that are not necessarily about Uptote. Thank you so much, Ikeoluwa. It was an enlightening time with you. And to our audience, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Ikeoluwa, we hope to see you do bigger and greater things in the future. Thank you all, and see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to Sustainability Matters. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget, new videos premiere on our YouTube channel every Wednesday. Follow us across our social media pages to stay updated on the great content we have for you. Until next time, stay green and stay inspired.